I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Donald Trump's co-defendant in the criminal case brought by special counsel Jack Smith in the Southern District of Florida Federal Courthouse, Waltine Nauta, also known as Walt Nauta, either can't find a licensed Florida lawyer to represent him or is refusing to find a Florida licensed lawyer to represent him as part of games that are being played to try to delay these proceedings. Here's what went down and the sequence of events. Donald Trump and Walt Nauta are indicted by special counsel Jack Smith in early June for obstruction of justice, willful retention of national defense information, conspiracy, and making false statements. The arraignment takes place in the Southern District of Florida Federal Courthouse, Miami Division on June 13th. Both Donald Trump and Waltine Nauta show up. Donald Trump has lawyers that are there from Florida and an out-of-state lawyer, Todd Blanche. Walt Nauta has only an out-of-state lawyer, Stanley Woodward, who is paid by Donald Trump, represents a lot of other people in Trump's orbit. I should say paid by Donald Trump's political action organizations, where Donald Trump engages in this predatory grifting of supporters to raise money, which he then uses to hire lawyers for other people in his orbit. Donald Trump at this June 13th arraignment pleads not guilty. Walt Nauta's lawyer, Stanley Woodward, says, "Judge, I'm not licensed to practice here, so I can't formally enter my appearance, but our client has been unsuccessful in securing a Florida lawyer. We've been looking for a lawyer licensed in Florida because the way it works is an out-of-state lawyer can't practice in another state unless they are sponsored by an in-state lawyer. That process is called pro hoc vice. So Stanley Woodward's like, I can't appear before you. We have to find a Florida licensed lawyer to appear. The judge says, fine, we will continue it, and let's set a new date of June 27th. Make sure he finds a lawyer. So June 27th rolls around. This is the continued date of Walt Nauta's arraignment, and only Stanley Woodward shows up again, not licensed to practice law in this court in the state of Florida. The judge says, hey, where's your client? Stanley Woodward, the magistrate judge. And Stanley Woodward says, well, a funny thing, he just wasn't able to make it. His flight got canceled, I think due to the weather. He takes this very, very, very seriously, Judge. He would have liked to have been here. We still have not been able to find a Florida licensed lawyer to represent him. Anyway, Judge, we're going to need a continuance. And the magistrate judge, Edwin Torres, magistrate judges oversee the arraignment, not the federal judge, Eileen Cannon, but the magistrate judge, Edwin Torres, who is the magistrate judge supervising just this arraignment. There's another magistrate judge for the case, Judge Bruce Reinhardt. But Edwin Torres basically says, fine, we'll continue it one more time. We'll move it to July 6th. Well, we're hours away, okay, from the arraignment right now of Walt Nauta, and still no lawyer purporting to represent Walt Nauta has filed a notice of appearance saying that they are Walt Nauta's lawyer, that they will be representing Walt Nauta. This is highly unusual. Normally, in a federal case, especially one with charges like this, violations of the freaking Espionage Act, obstruction of justice, things that carry with it massive sentences, if a criminal defendant shows up and doesn't have a lawyer, one gets appointed for them and they get arraigned that day. The federal judge says, okay, we're appointing a federal public defender. You're going forward with your arraignment. But because of, I guess, the high profile nature of it, and because this out-of-state lawyer, Stanley Woodward, vouched for, we're finding a lawyer, we just need a little more time, the magistrate judge the first time said, okay, we'll continue it until June 27th. Well, June 27th rolled around, and not only did Walt Nauta not find a lawyer, but Walt Nauta didn't show up. Like, to me, he should be held in contempt for that. Or, using modern technology, put him on a Zoom, bring in a federal public defender, arraign him right there. That's what would normally take place. Or say, I don't care, figure out a way that he flies in. He knew about this arraignment for a very long time. It's not like he just learned about this arraignment date. We told him back on June 13th that the continued date of the arraignment would be June 27th. Hello, where is he? He should be in Florida the day before, not worried about a flight being canceled. Oh, and by the way, doesn't Donald Trump have a jet? Doesn't he have of other ways to get here. So to continue it a third time is almost unheard. I mean, it's very rare. I don't want to say it's unheard of, but is very rare. It's very unusual. And now we're approaching the third time this arraignment is supposed to take place, and Walt Nauta has not identified who his licensed Florida lawyer is. So we don't know what specifically is going to go down, but we will, of course, keep you updated. But Donald Trump's been keeping Walt Nauta very, very close to him, literally very close to him. Here's Donald Trump entering the courthouse on his arraignment on June 13th. Walt Nauta is right behind him. After Donald Trump was arraigned, he went to a Cuban restaurant. You can see Walt Nauta, arms crossed, looking at Donald Trump, I guess wondering, hey, is he using me as a pawn? Yes, you're being used as a pawn. Watching Donald Trump degrade law and order and make a mockery of our justice system at this restaurant. There's Walt Nauta there. And here, Donald Trump went to Philadelphia this past week. You can see Walt Nauta there ordering a Philly cheesesteak with Donald Trump. You can see Donald Trump's reflection right there. You can see him behind that the glass wall or the mirror right there. And there's Walt Nauta with him, apparently buying a Philly cheesesteak for Donald Trump more seriously than the fact that he may serve the rest of his life in prison. So again, highly, highly unusual for this to be taking place. Look, I think Walt Nauta is engaged in games right here. I think he and Donald Trump collectively, but specifically Donald Trump as kind of the puppet master over his pawn, Walt Nauta, are testing Jack Smith, are testing the magistrate judge, are testing Judge Eileen Cannon. How much can they get away with trying to just challenge and cause chaos in the process using Walt Nauta ultimately as the pawn, not Donald Trump? And then trying to say, well, we need more time. This is too much delay. Like already one of the briefing schedules has been pushed back, not in any major way, but Judge Cannon pushed back the briefing of certain briefs that were due for just basically an extra week or so, given Walt Nauta's continued arraignment. And so already you see them starting to chip away and trying to do what Donald Trump does, delay. There's an important hearing that's set to take place on July 14th, a status conference on CIPA procedures, Classified Information Procedures Act. This is what governs this case before Judge Eileen Cannon. The appointment of a Classified Information Procedures Act security officer that will be discussed at this hearing. So in theory, all of this will be taking place, the arraignment, all of this other briefing before that critical hearing. That's why the magistrate judge was okay continuing it, but not continuing it after this critical July 14th, 2023, really the first major status conference where the parties don't have to show up, but the lawyers will show up. Jack Smith with his team will be there. Trump's lawyers will be there. Ostensibly, Walt Nauta, if he has lawyers, will be there. But I don't expect this to get continued again. If Walt Nauta doesn't have a lawyer, my expectation would be that the magistrate judge is going to arraign him and appoint a federal public defender to represent him and not cause any more delay. Walt Nauta is in, Donald Trump's pawn. He's in big trouble. I mean, he was the one caught on the surveillance footage moving the classified boxes from room to room to evade the Department of Justice finding it at Donald Trump's request. Here, we talked about it on an earlier hot take, but portions of the search warrant affidavit used to secure the probable cause determination to execute a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago back in August of 2022. More portions of that search warrant affidavit were unsealed today, and those portions, the most damning, relate to Walt Nauta, who was identified as witness 5 at that time. Remember, this is a document, a declaration that was created for a court filing in August of 2022 before Nauta was an indicted criminal defendant, co-conspirator, co-defendant. Okay, so they were referring to him as witness 5, but these portions are now unsealed. So every time you see witness 5, think Nauta. Every time you see former President Trump or former President Lawyer 1, that's Evan Corcoran. Here's what it says, paragraph 66 of the search warrant affidavit. By reviewing the camera footage provided by the Trump Organization in response to the subpoena, the FBI has determined the following. On May 24, 2022, witness 5, Walt Nauta, is observed exiting the anteroom doorway with 3 boxes. On May 30th, 2022, 4 days after Walt Nauta's interview with the FBI, during which the location of the boxes was a significant subject of questioning, Walt Nauta is observed exiting the anteroom doorway with approximately 50 bankers' boxes, consistent with the description of Trump boxes. FBI did not observe this quantity of boxes being returned to the storage room through the anteroom entrance in its review of the footage. The next day, on June 1, 2022, Walt Nauta is observed carrying 11 brown cardboard boxes out of the anteroom entrance. One box did not have a lid on it and appeared to contain papers. The day after that, on June 2, 2022, Walt Nauta is observed moving 25 to 30 boxes, some of which were brown cardboard boxes and others of which were bankers' boxes, consistent with the description of the Trump boxes, into the entrance of the anteroom. Approximately 3.5 hours later, Walt Nauta is observed escorting Trump's lawyer in through the entrance of the anteroom, and Trump's lawyer is not observed leaving until approximately 2.5 hours later. On June 3, 2022, Trump's lawyer is escorted through the anteroom entrance by an unidentified individual wearing a jacket that says United States Secret Service Police printed on the back. The unidentified individual and Trump's lawyer exit the anteroom entrance moments later. Trump's counsel appear to be carrying a red-welled envelope after exiting the anteroom. So there you have it. That's Walt Nauta right there. Witness 5, now co-defendant. He's in big trouble. He's being used as Trump's pawn, and he will continue to ignore the law of holes, which is stop digging. We'll keep you posted as we learn more about Walt Nauta. It's obvious gamesmanship at this point. We're hopeful the magistrate judge will say enough is enough, that this arraignment will go forward, and Walt Nauta, if he continues down this path, I think we'll even face deeper and deeper consequences. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Wherever you get audio podcasts, subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast. Have a great day. Hit subscribe.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.